Good evening, and thank you all for joining us for the first MFamily virtual conversation for the 25-26 academic year. We're really excited to be launching the series for the year. We want to invite you to stay for as long as you can. Know that typically we are able to hear from our presenters, address questions and answers, and share any other announcements, and conclude in less than an hour. For any of you who are joining but unsure if you'll be able to stay the entire time, please do see our YouTube channel. It is MFamily, University of Michigan. And you'll see our past recordings, earlier iterations of information about students' careers, and other topics that we covered throughout each year. I'd like to also send a special acknowledgement to our first-year families, those of you who are supporting Michigan students who are enrolling for their very first semester. Welcome aboard. Thank you for taking us up on the invitation to partner with us for supporting your Wolverine. With all that, I want to say that I'm Nicole Banks. I serve as an Associate Dean of Students in the Dean of Students office. I oversee our work and strategy for parent and family engagement. Tonight, I happen to be our host for this session, though I typically attend them all and participate. Typically, this program is hosted by Rachel Egelhoff, the MFamily Program Manager, and she's unable to be here tonight. So you are here with me and my colleagues with support from members of our everyday team. So I want to thank Emma Berger for being here as well, assisting with Q&A and just managing information as we move through. We've got a great topic tonight and two colleagues who can bring you great information that will help inform your conversations with your students and support them as they're planning the different aspects of their career journey. So very shortly, I will be turning this over to our colleagues who will speak as our panelists. And so we have Chelsea Moore, who is Assistant Director of Career Education and Campus Partnerships, joined by Megan Hart-Malloy, who is the Assistant Director for Employer Relations and Strategic Initiatives. So in just a moment, they will be speaking. I want to make sure that for anyone who is new here or here for the first time tonight, we welcome you to use the question and answer feature of this webinar format and submit your questions at any time. We'll be compiling those offline, so don't be concerned if there's not an answer appearing in the chat feature or in the Q&A feature. We will compile those, and then we'll reach a point in tonight's program where we will pause, make sure that any additional questions that the participants have been submitted, and then we'll come back and we'll start going through the questions for Chelsea and Megan. One last piece I want to make sure is clear is that the MFamily program is a part of the Division of Student Life at Michigan and housed in the Dean of Students office. So each time we gather for the MFamily conversations, we'll also be talking about support that is available through Student Life, assistance with student concerns and or student emergencies. And so you'll hear us talk about the Dean of Students office probably each time. But with that information, I am happy to turn this over to my two colleagues, appreciate their time and being able to bring their expertise to this space tonight. I'll turn it over to Chelsea and Megan and let them get started. Thank you both.
All right, wonderful. Yes, welcome everyone. My name is Megan Hart-Malloy. I'm part of the University Career Center team that's presenting today. And we are really looking forward to working with your students over their course of time with us as students at University of Michigan. So let me go ahead and share. Perfect. Okay, Chelsea, I'm on the right slides, right?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So as Nicole said, we have about an hour with you today, maybe a little less than that at this point. So this is what we will be going over. We want to make sure to do a good introduction of the University Career Center, or UCC, as we will probably refer to it as. I'm sure you've experienced with your student. There are a lot of acronyms at Michigan, and so we tried to clarify those as much as possible. We'll talk through some common career myths, maybe just some things that students often hear when they're thinking about a career or what they're looking to do after their time as a student at Michigan. And so we'll go through some of those. And then just ways that you can help your student get started. So we know that we are a resource for them. We know that they lean on connections, parents, families, guardians, etc., siblings, for other ways to navigate career. And so we will talk about just some tools and resources that you can share with them to help them get started when they're thinking about their career. Okay, so for an overview of the University Career Center, these are just a few highlights. So we certainly couldn't fit everything that we do on one slide, but this is sort of a high-level overview. University of Michigan is very large, and so students often have supports in many different places, especially when it comes to career-related things. And so effectively, most students will have access to a career center through their academic department, sometimes through their individual college or another resource, but all students have access to us. So every student, regardless of their college, their major, undergraduate through PhD, even recent graduates within 2 years of their graduation date, all have access to the University Career Center as a resource. One major area of work that we do is around career education. So this is one-on-one coaching that we'll do with your student. It could be small group coaching that we'll do with students. That's usually about a dozen students that are working together. And so that's a lot of the work that we do with them. We do special services for pre-professional students. So this could be students that are thinking they might want to go into a health profession that will require graduate school. Could be medical school, it could be law school if that's something that they're considering. And so we definitely do career development around those types of topics as well. We do a lot of workshops and a lot of events. And so really because we work with all students, we try and bring our services to scale as much as possible. And so we do tend to host large events, large gatherings for students and employers, and I'll get into that in workshops as well, just to make sure that students have access to us as much as possible. The last thing within the career education realm that we do often with students are assessments. So we offer a Myers-Briggs assessment, and we have conversations with them if they take that around career. We offer a Clifton Strengths assessment, and then we offer another assessment called the Strong Interest Inventory. We have different coaches within our team that are certified in delivering these assessments with students, and we help them make meaning of their results, especially as it connects to their career. Employer engagement. So that is my area of expertise. That's where I focus a lot of my time and energy. The primary way that students on campus engage with employers is through our career development platform called Handshake. So we will go over how to help your student get started in Handshake. But that is where employers will have typically their initial sort of connection point with students. It focuses as our job board, so job and internship postings. That is where we direct all employers to post their opportunities for students. Typically, we get over 1,000 job postings or internship postings come in per day. So it's quite large in terms of how much opportunity they could find in there. And that is where they will find a lot of information about employers of interest as well. So we'll come back to Handshake in a little bit because it is sort of a key piece to help them get started. We also host various career fairs for students. We actually had our first one today. The Consulting and Finance Career Fair was today. And these are large events where employers will table and they will try and connect with as many students as possible. So these are, again, open to all students. We encourage students, even if you aren't necessarily looking for an internship or a job, a full-time job, just come and check it out, meet with people, see what it's like. And then every time thereafter, they're a little bit less nervous. And so we host several of those throughout the year. Our next one coming up is a job and internship fair, and we'll get into those details. And then lastly, with the employer engagement piece, The other big offering that we have is around skill building and experiential learning. And so this really focuses on getting students connected to employers in a hands-on way. It could be going to the employer, going to their headquarters to see where they are. You know, a student can kind of picture themselves there. They can meet with alumni that are working there, to kind of see a peek behind the curtain or a day in the life of what it would be like at that employer. And then employer challenges are really case study focused opportunities where students can work on a problem, present the information to the employer, and then get feedback. And so we'll advertise several of those throughout the year. And then lastly, the alumni connections are a big piece of what we do as well. And so we have an internal university career alumni network. UCAN is the acronym there. These are alumni who have opted into this platform and said, I'm willing to connect with students, share my experiences, you know, talk to them about how my major maybe led to what I was doing or really helped me focus in on this area. And so helping students get connected to the really large, really great, committed University of Michigan alumni network is an area where we focus a lot of our time. Okay, so now we're going to shift into some common myths that you might hear from students or otherwise when they are talking about their career journey and their career development experiences.
Okay. We know that a lot of these conversations are going to happen with you all before they happen with us. So we wanted you to get a sense of how we have these conversations, what we're thinking about when students bring these ideas to us, so you can help point them in the right direction. As Megan shared, my wheelhouse is the career education side. So I work with a lot of students who are deciding or looking for internships and jobs, a lot of one-on-one time. So we have a pretty good sense of some of the things that students are talking to their peers about and what's adding stress and what's helpful for them. This first one is around decidedness. We have found that students have a strong desire to feel like they know exactly what they want to do from day one. And that's awesome if students have ideas. We are here for it. We love it. We are happy to help them think through how to engage more deeply in the ideas that they have. But for us, being decided is not as important as being engaged in the decisions you're making. So I've seen students who are undecided who are more engaged than students who are incredibly decided but haven't really thought about why they're decided. Um, we know that students are very likely to shift gears or change plans, likely in college, but also after college. And we want our students to have a roadmap for what to do when they have those moments of hesitation. So if you have your student coming to you and they are feeling nervous or concerned about not being entirely sure where they want to go, we actually think this is a really good moment because it often helps push them to do things like join a student organization or think about the clubs that they're like or the classes that they're liking, why they like them, why they don't like them. Talk to an alumni about their career path, explore a path more deeply. That exploration is really crucial for our students. And it's a skill they're going to be using now, but also after college as well. So we really want to encourage our students to lean into those moments of ambiguity and to use that energy to explore a little bit more deeply. So for us, that is more important than feeling like they always have a strict answer to what are you going to do after Michigan at every point in their career. Speaking of career preparation, we also find that there's a variety of opinions here, but we have some students who come to us their junior year, and that is the first time they're really thinking about their career development. For us, we would love to be working with every freshman. We know that the conversations are really beneficial when they start early, when we have time to explore, to take the pressure off a little bit, to have time to try things out. So we really encourage students to really think about their career development from their first semester on campus. With that being said, they also put a lot of pressure on themselves in that first semester. So if you have a first year who's beginning their Michigan experience and they're coming to you already nervous about internships, that is an example of that pressure. That's not what we mean when we say career preparation begins day one. Yes, internships are amazing, and we really encourage our students to do internships. But most of our first years won't have internships. Some of them will, but many of them will not, and that's totally fine. But we do want them to be thinking about, again, getting involved on campus, doing great in their classes, also thinking about things like shadowing or informational interviewing. That's the kind of engagement we want them to think about. Maybe we want them to come talk to a career coach or do a UCC event. That's the stuff that we feel like is really important. But it doesn't mean that they have to be, really nervous about the internship search in their first semester. All right, myth number 3, the internship search timeline and the job search timeline. Again, lots of variety in terms of student perceptions. But if you have a student who's thinking that they will start their internship search in March or their job search in March, in reality, we want a lot of our students thinking about it ahead of time. It takes 3 to 6 months for most of our students to fully go through a job or internship process. So we want to give them that space and time to be able to be successful. That does not necessarily hold true for every single industry. Students really should be talking to coaches and their peers about how the industry that they are thinking about hires, because some of them hire super early and some hire a little bit later, and that's totally normal. But we want our students to be engaged in the process so they understand when to expect to engage in that process. And even for ones that recruit a little bit later, we also know there's things that they can be doing earlier on in the process to set themselves up for success. So we encourage you to encourage your students to have that conversation early on so they feel like they have the time to really engage in it fully.
Okay, so another myth is around the resume drop. And so what we will hear from students is, I'm just going to apply to as many things as possible and hope that an opportunity works out. Um, Oftentimes this will lead, we'll hear from them, this will lead to frustration. They feel like they're not hearing back. And so one thing that you can do is really just encourage them to come into the office and get some coaching and help around trying to have a more strategic approach to where they're applying and why. Tailoring their application materials is one of the strongest, if not the strongest strategy that we coach them on using. So rather than throwing a lot of general things out there, we coach them on really sitting down, thinking about why you're applying to this role, what makes it feel like a fit or an opportunity at this time, and then how do we tailor our resume and our cover letter in the best way possible to be competitive in that applicant pool. Um, the other thing that we will encourage them to do rather than mass applying is to really reach out and try and make a connection point with someone who is at that organization. Oftentimes this could be an alumni, especially if there's an intersection of an alumni at the organization who is doing the job or a similar job to what they're interested in. This can be a really good way to understand, what is the company culture like, what types of skills do you utilize in the role, and how do I highlight those things on my resume. One of the best things that we really encourage students to do is, rather than think of applying for jobs and internships as like a quantity game, to really sit down and think about, how much time do I have per week that I can work on some of these things. It could be hitting the apply button on the application, right? But it could be tailoring their resume. It could be doing some outreach to do some networking. And then that leads to much more sustained energy over the course of their searching than just doing the mass apply strategy. Okay, another myth we often hear about is being very one-track minded. So yeah, if I want to get a job in big tech, for example, I should really just focus in on that. So I should join clubs that are around this. These are the types of projects I should work on, and I should really target some of those Fortune 500 companies that are doing things in big tech right now. The job market is changing so rapidly that actually the best strategy that students can work on is just having an agile mindset around where they can apply and what types of opportunities are out there for the type of work they want to do. So if we think about the big tech one, for example, if there is a slowdown in hiring for large technical companies, that are, often in the news or have a lot of brand name recognition, for example, one area they could think to pivot into is healthcare. So healthcare has a lot of opportunities in technology right now. It just is in a different industry. But could they be doing similar roles in healthcare? Yes. Could they be getting that really good high technical experience? Of course they could. It just happens to be in an industry that's different than what they thought they would go into. One thing we're often coaching students on is the first job or the first internship is not the forever job. And so an opportunity where they can skill build, they can network, they can get started in their field, is something that we would coach them to consider. And so being agile and helping them think about that in that way is very helpful for them. And then lastly, the last common myth we hear is being laser focused on academics. This can be kind of common with Michigan students. They're used to a competitive environment. They are used to being academically successful. And so if they are just laser focused on getting good grades, that could lead to getting into a lot of graduate schools, or getting, a highly competitive position. Really, experiences will be a big differentiator for them on their applications. So yes, we would never, encourage students grades don't matter. But it is being very well-rounded, which is something that a lot of students can relate to. So grades are an important factor, an important pillar to showcase that you can meet challenges, that you have a growth mindset, that you're dedicated to your studies, but also experiential learning, doing hands-on work, could be a student employment position on campus. It could be doing work within a student organization. Any way that they are able to really kind of differentiate what their experiences look like and get as many sort of hands-on experiences as possible, that will really be what adds value to the resume beyond the classroom. And so helping students to think about, what am I doing outside the classroom that is also related to what I want to go into, is something that will be very beneficial for them during their time here.
And one thing I wanted to add to that as well is, I think one thing that could be tricky for students is trying to think through what that means for some of the ideas that they have. So there are some places where it's very clear how to use the right keyword to find the right experiences in Handshake. Then I have some students, for example, our pre-professional students sometimes struggle with this. Our students who are applying to medical school or PA school or law school, sometimes they need a little bit more guidance around what are the experiences that are called experiential learning in their field. It may be an internship, but it also might be shadowing. It might be something that's just called a job, but it doesn't have that internship term. That's really normal. It might be volunteering. So sometimes students need a little bit of guidance there. So if you find your student struggling, we encourage them to come chat with us so we can talk a little bit about how do you build the experiences that you're going to want at the end of the day. Okay, so those are our 5 myths. Now we're going to move forward to, what are the things that you can do to support your students? Because we know you're here with a reason. You want to be able to be a great resource for your students. So we tried to boil it down to a couple core points that we thought would be useful for you to bring back to your students. I will also say, if you're taking notes vigorously, that we have a one pager at the end with a bunch of links and a bunch of dates. We have a QR code with that. Also happy to share the link. So feel free, if you want to just relax, we can get that information to you at the end of the session. Okay, so if there's one big takeaway for your student to remember, is, for us, we believe it is that they should activate their Handshake profile and start getting comfortable with Handshake. Handshake is our tool that really becomes a one-stop shop for your students for a variety of purposes. It's how they interact with our office, so it's how they make an appointment with a career coach. It's how they visit our clothes closet if they want to come get business professional clothing or a headshot. It's how they find out information about our career fairs or about events that we have. So it really is has tons of information that they're going to want to know about their experiences, but it's also where they connect with employers. So employers will come through Handshake to post a job or an internship, to post an event that they want to have for Michigan students and beyond. So this is a really core tool for them. If you have a first-year student, there's no pressure on it around getting everything perfect. We just want them in it and kind of getting used to it. But it's really going to be an important tool for them when they begin looking for opportunities. And again, the opportunities span the spectrum. So some of them are traditional internships, but we definitely have things for pre-health and pre-law as well. Those things are all in Handshake. So it's a really good resource for them to know about. So we'll have that link for you as well. If you want to kind of not poke your student a little bit around Handshake, that's a really good starting place for them to get involved in the ecosystem and to figure out what's going on and how to stay on top of things. This is kind of, a replication of what I just did, but a couple other pieces that you might want to know about. We also have a program called Career Tracks. So this is an industry-specific program. So we have different coaches in our office who lead out a career track around a specific industry. So for example, there's one for sports, there's one for fashion, there's one for finance, there's one for nonprofit, et cetera. Students can join it. And the goal of that is for them to stay up to date around what's happening in the industry, but also what's happening on campus that they might want to know about. So for instance, we just sent out our track emails for September, and in it, we had a list of the employers who were going to be at our career fair that were relevant to that track. So the student didn't have to be on their own digging through the employer list. They could kind of get a curated list from that track manager about people they might want to start with. So we encourage you for your students to think about that as well. They can do that by filling out their handshake profile. That's a really nice way to stay up to date with some of the work that's happening on campus. Um, if you do have a first year student, one question that we often get from parents is how do they learn this information? It's a really good question. It's something that we really think about a lot. And there's a lot of different ways. We have a slide at the end about the different ways we will stay in touch with students. But we do also have a big intro session for our first year students. It's called Ready, Set, Intern. The first session already happened. So some of you may have students who are already engaged in this event, but there's another one that's September 8th. It's at 6 p.m. in person in our building, which is the Student Activities Building, and it is designed to help first year students learn the basics. What is Handshake? What are some of the big events? What are some of the skills I should be building during my time at Michigan, and how do I do that? We actually filled to capacity, but we were able to create a little bit more space for this session. So we opened up registration this afternoon to be able to share with you all, so you can share with your students. So if you have a first year student that you would like to attend a session that kind of goes over the basics, please send them this link. We will keep it open until Thursday morning, and then we will shut it down again to make sure we have capacity for all the students that register.
I will add to essentially our orientation tabling over the summer when first year students were coming to campus. The main message was just go in and activate your handshake profile. So we tried to say that to every student who came to the table. And so hopefully they were able to get started with that process sometime over the summer. Otherwise, they will hear from us, and we do several campaigns to get them started in handshake as well. Okay, so upcoming career fairs, something I will often hear from first year students. I heard it today actually at the consulting and finance fair is I'm a first year student or I'm a freshman, am I allowed to come? Yes, of course. Again, every student has access to all that we offer, and so we love to see first year students at the fair. Where we tend to see the most first year students actually is at our fall job and internship fair. So this is our largest event that happens during the school year. We have over 50 different employers that attend over 2 days. So this is an in-person opportunity at the Michigan Union. It'll be Monday, September 15th, and then again on Tuesday, September 16th. We would love if all students came to both days because it is different employers each day. And so for a lot of students, if they're kind of undecided or they just want to explore, we tell them please come to both days. Oftentimes for a lot of students, if they know what they want to do, they want to talk with employers, some that are coming on the first day and some on the second day. And so this is a great opportunity for students to come explore, see what these large events look like, kind of see what conversations look like. And we are there to support them and help them through all of that as well. We also offer a virtual job and internship fair that happens just the Wednesday after the 2 in-person days. Some employers don't come to Ann Arbor to recruit, or they don't have the resource to travel to campus to be able to do this. And so we like to make sure we can be as accessible as possible and get students opportunities. And so we also offer a virtual day on Wednesday. They do have to pre-register for that, and we have a lot of information and can help them with that, but they sign up for sort of one-on-one sessions with employers that are about 10 minutes long. So it replicates the in-person experience in some ways, and is a little different in other ways, and we're happy to help them prepare for that. To Chelsea's point about working with pre-professional students, we also offer 2 events. The one this semester is Law Day. And so we have over 70 law schools that come and we host them. It's a fair type event, but it's really law schools that are there to talk about the types of programs, the types of degrees that they offer for any students who are potentially interested in going into law. And so that one is happening on October 8th. In the winter semester, we run a health and med expo for students that are interested in going to medical school or other healthcare fields that require a graduate degree or a terminal degree. And so that will happen in the winter, and there will be a lot of communication to students about that one as well. No matter what, if they're looking to attend a fair, whether it's focused on pre-professional or something else, an internship or a job, everything will be in Handshake. Again, it's the one-stop shop for them, and so they can get everything that they need regarding the details in there. We do help with preparation. So we know that career fairs can be a little bit overwhelming, especially for first year students. And so we do several events and a series of events to help them feel more prepared to engage in these types of recruiting events that take place. So we are offering a career fair preparation session. That's going to be on September 11th from 2 to 3. And then we're offering one for international students on the same day, literally right after from 3 to 4. Sometimes international students just need a little bit of a different support around navigating career fairs. We also have a team of folks who work specifically with international students, and so they lead that session out. But this is just really to help students feel like they understand what to expect when they're attending any one of our career fairs. And then we also offer a series of events. It's called Go Blue Career Jam. These are events that are meant to connect students with employers in maybe a little bit less of a formal way, in a more intimate, kind of casual way that doesn't feel as high stakes sometimes as a career fair can feel. And so these are opportunities that are kind of woven throughout September, so throughout our various career fairs that we offer. And the next one that we have is actually on Thursday. So we're doing a virtual panel for it's Michigan alum. It's navigating life after Michigan. And so it's mostly folks who have graduated within the last 2 to 3 years. And so they just share what the experience has been like, how they found these opportunities, if they're doing something they never thought they were going to be going into, what it's been like since they've graduated. And so it's really just good, authentic insight for students who are wondering kind of what that transition looks like. We're doing a resume blitz, which is really where we just review a ton of resumes for students, drop-in style, so they can come into the Career Center, get their resume reviewed. They can hang out and work on it if they would like to. So we have that coming up on September 10th. We have an event called Meet the Interns coming up in October, which I'll talk about in a second, and many others. So Career Jam, all the information can be found on our website. Every event is also in Handshake, and so students can find details there if they would like to engage in Career Jam. We would love to have them. Okay, so Meet the Interns. This is one of our best events, honestly, that we host in the fall recruiting season because it's all peer-to-peer connection. So it's happening on October 21st, which I believe is a Tuesday. And essentially, students who have had really cool internships over the past summer table and share what that experience was like with other students. So we have pizza, employers send us swag that we can give out to students. And really, it's just students who talk about how they found their internship, what was that experience like, and then what advice do they have? You know, how to apply, how to get started, how did they network, whatever that may be. There are no employers there, so it also feels a lot more like fun and casual because it really is just peer-to-peer connection and peer-to-peer learning. And folks who are looking for jobs are very welcome to come as well. So it doesn't necessarily have to be like you're looking for an internship or a student is interested in interning. It could be folks who are looking for full-time work and they see that a student is going to represent a company there and they want to hear about what it was like and what their experience was like when they were there. So we would love to have first year students come to this. It's a really great way to get started and to start kind of learning about what they might be interested in. And so encouraging them to register for this event is definitely a tip that we'll leave you with today.
Okay. So we know that Michigan's a big place. There's a lot happening. And one of the questions that students often have is how can I stay up to date about what's happening and how to take advantage of the resources and figure out how to take advantage of the resources. There are a lot of different ways. We truly try to come at it from different angles so we don't miss students. But a couple of things that might be helpful to know. We do send out weekly newsletters by school year, so your students should get a curated newsletter every Sunday or Monday that talks a little bit about things they might want to know as a first year, things they might want to know as a junior, for example, and that will have all of our big things. I also mentioned our career track program earlier. This is our industry specific group that's run by a career coach in our office. For your students, they're going to think of this as an email group. So our coaches send out an email once a month with information about things that are happening on campus related to that specific industry. That's a really nice way for students to kind of get things that are really relevant to them. So I encourage your students to sign up for that again on Handshake. If they go on Handshake, everything that we do is there. We We put literally everything we do on Handshake. So if they go to the events tab, they will be able to see all of the events hosted by our office, and all of the events that employers are hosting as well. So it's a really nice way to kind of see everything in one spot. We also know that there's a lot of resources and that our website can be a little overwhelming. We try really hard to have great information on our website. And I think a lot of students rely very heavily on the content that's on our website. But it's also, there's a lot to read there. So we did introduce last year a AI assistant on our website. So if they go to our homepage, there is a Maisie tool, which is what Michigan calls their little AI assistants. And it's there to help them navigate the common question. So they could ask about UCC, but they could also say things like, how should I write a bullet point on my resume? And it would give them advice on how to do that. What's a good, what's a common interview question that I might get? Those are all things that are kind of fed into that system. So that's a really nice place to get started if they have a specific question and they aren't sure where to begin. Okay, so we covered a lot of content quickly. Hopefully we got to everyone's questions. I know there's some questions in the Q&A, so we can definitely go there as well. And we're looking forward to seeing what people are curious about.
Thank you so much. I will, what we typically do is pause and make sure that everyone who has a question still but hasn't submitted it has a second to do that. So I'm going to put up some slides for this time. Want to remind you all to use the Q&A feature here in Zoom webinar and place your questions. Emma is working diligently to compile the questions for us and make sure that if we have any duplications, we're aware of that and can just just respond to things and cover as much as we can in the time we have left, which we're in pretty good shape. Also want to make sure that everyone who's new to the MFamily virtual conversations knows that these sessions are recorded because we will add this to our YouTube for anyone who was unable to attend today but would be interested in seeing more about this topic in their free time. And so I have the address to the YouTube channel for MFamily listed here. And another way that folks will stay connected is that after the Q&A, after our segment tonight, all of the questions and answers will be typed. And if there are things that are asked that either time doesn't permit us to cover, or we feel like for our actual organization, there are other campus units that could provide more specific and accurate information, such as fraternity and sorority life, which comes up in a number of different settings, though I think we can answer that question. But sometimes we're asked a question that also is relevant to another Michigan resource. And so we try to make sure we can answer those questions as well. So all of those things will be included in writing to you all who registered for the session tonight. I also want to take a moment and make sure, as we're compiling the last few questions, want to make sure to take a moment to highlight that next weekend is the 2025 MFamily Parent and Family Weekend. So this slide has a couple good reminders, especially if this is your first time or if you haven't been to Parent and Family Weekend in a while. We know that primarily first-year families come for the whole weekend, but we see families of students who are upperclassmen and even graduate students who come and participate in the festivities on Saturday or other parts of the weekend. So if you are new to Michigan's Parent and Family Weekend, before you come, we encourage you to go back to the confirmation email you received. If you've already registered, online registration was happening in July. I want to go back to the email confirmation you received. It explains what you've signed up for, and then you can also double check that you have the proper quantity of tickets or reservations. At the time, the maximum, at the time of registration, someone may register with the idea that they can use all 4 spaces, or they certainly need our maximum 4 tickets. And as we get closer to the weekend, some people find that they actually don't have a party of 4. They may have a party of 3, or they didn't think their student would be with them for a particular event, and they're finding now their student is available. So double check what you have and understand if there's anything else that you need. You can also review the full schedule, and I'll put this website in chat in just a few moments. But compare the website and make sure that your idea of how your days will flow on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday really match the way the schedule is, and know that some events are subject to change. So I don't think we've had any major changes. You want to double check. Sometimes it's helpful just to plug in the location on your digital calendar to ease your process of getting around campus during those busy days. And then when you arrive, I won't go through this whole list. Please remember whether you registered in advance online or whether you want to register on site, which is available on Friday, September 12th. You'll report to the Michigan Union, which is where registration and check-in happen. Their people will pick up anything they've registered for in terms of tickets or passes, like for meals, and any gifts and souvenirs that were pre-purchased, or if you'd like to purchase some that are still available for sale. Any questions that you have about Parent and Family Weekend, you can address to the MFamily team. It should say mfamilyweekend@umich.edu, or you can contact the Dean of Students office, which is open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 p.m. Okay, hopefully that was a helpful break for now to ensure that we've covered all of our questions. I have some closing slides that I'll talk about at the end. And we will get to our Q&A. So I'll bring back our panelists and jump right in. Let's see. Oh yeah, we have quite a few questions. Emma, thank you so much for your speedy typing. Let's see. The first question is about networks. Can you both, one or both of you, talk about the networks that students have and how useful they can be for internships or finding jobs after graduation? The example used in the question is whether or not joining fraternities, and I'll add, or sororities, are a helpful form of networks for students who are looking for practical experience and or employment later. Who wants to start us off with that?
Yeah, I'm happy to start. Chelsea might have some things to add too. I often think that students discount their peers as being their largest network that they're building when they're a student with us. And so joining things like student organizations, Greek life, being an example of that, fraternity or sororities, that's a great way to start building your network. Sometimes your peers are engaging in opportunities that seem really interesting, something that maybe they want to explore and engage with. And so having conversations with them, getting to know about how they got that, if there's an opportunity for them to do an introduction or get connected in some way, can be really valuable use of their time, especially when it comes to identifying opportunities. So beyond fraternity and sorority life, certainly folks who are in their classes with them. We tell our student employees in the office, actually, they network amongst each other very often, and they're talking about career a lot. Which we love because it's our office, but even student employment positions and the peers that they work with, that's all a part of them building their network while they're here.
And I think for every student, it's different. So there's so many different kinds of student organizations. They're all really great ways to build your community. We have lots of students who find really great community with other faculty and staff as well, especially students who are thinking about maybe research or professional school. It can be really nice to kind of think about going to office hours and find ways to kind of intentionally build relationships. And then I think the other thing that I would love to point out is that Michigan alumni are amazing. We have this alumni panel is a good example of just the wonderful people that love to give back with Michigan students. We have so many alum who love to talk with Michigan students on the phone and just share about their experiences and provide some assistance. Megan mentioned earlier that we have a tool called UCAN, which is a tool, a database that alumni can join to give back to Michigan and share their experiences with students. So students can find alumni profiles and reach out to learn more about their different career pathways. And that's a really great way for students to take advantage of that Michigan alumni base because they really go the extra mile to share their perspective and wisdom.
Thank you. That's wonderful. Great responses. Thank you both. There was another question, if I just go in order for a moment, but I think it's a great question. I don't know whether or not it's appropriate for the Career Service Center, but the question is, where can students go to find on-campus work? I'm aware of the website, but can you talk about the guidance or support that you all give for students in that process?
Definitely. It's a really good question. We get it a lot this time of year. I think it was one of our most common questions when we were tabling for orientation. And we love it. We're excited that students are ready to get involved on campus. There's a website. I think it's just studentemployment.umich.edu. that is where on-campus opportunities are posted. So that's a really great way for students to get started. And that's where many departments will post their opportunities. We do meet with students to think a little bit about different ways to get opportunities too. For example, some students are interested in research. A lot of those students end up getting that through emailing professors, right? So sometimes it's on the website and sometimes it's us helping them think through, kind of similar to a normal job search too. Where are the places you want to be and how do we get you into those spaces? So the website's a really good place to start there. There's lots of really good opportunities there.
That's great. Thank you. And it's been great that we've had students even just come to our offices and ask if we're hiring and talk with someone immediately about what's available and what we look for and what we offer. So that's been great. So the next question is circling back. Someone heard you talking about different career assessments, and they're asking if first-year students, and they say freshmen, can take the career assessments you both have discussed.
Yes, definitely. We would love the first year students to take them. So they are open to all students. We are happy to have first years jump into them. We offer three. It's the Clifton Strengths, the Strong Interest Inventory, and the Myers-Briggs. We do ask that they come in and talk with us about it before, so we make sure that they understand what it is and what it isn't. It's not going to be like a crystal ball where you shake it and all of a sudden it's like you are now this profession, which sometimes our students want when they're a little stressed out. So we talk a little bit about what they can expect. So we do ask that they do that first, so they could just sign up for an exploring options appointment in our office, and then we could help them get set up for the right assessment.
Wonderful. Thank you. So the next question is asking if first-year students or freshmen are invited to the career support info Zoom sessions like this one. Are you reaching out to first-year students to introduce UCC?
Yeah, so Chelsea talked a little bit about the Ready Set Intern program that we offer, and the next one's coming up on the 8th, I think, if I remember the date correctly. That is a really good introduction if they're looking to like come and hear about, our services and how they can get started when they're thinking about internship search, and how to utilize Handshake really effectively. Otherwise, she also talked about the fact that we send out marketing campaigns by school year. And so regardless, first year students will get information about our office. They'll be encouraged. It's like group appropriate messaging, right? We focus on different things for first year students than we would for graduating seniors. And so those marketing campaigns are sort of tailored to how they could best engage with us and our services. And so I know they receive a lot of messaging when they come to Michigan. I know it can feel very overwhelming. Again, just if they activate their Handshake, they will start to get information that way, which is different than any other way they would get information on campus, because Handshake, is its own unique platform. And so that's primarily how they would engage with us and hear about our services.
Thank you so much. One of the things that we talked about throughout the in-person orientation experiences this summer was the importance of having students decide early on that they will read their university email, and that if there are some specific departments they're hoping to hear from soon, that they really like preset a notification when they get an email from that unit. So I'm hoping that our first year students are really thinking about university career services and presetting themselves to be notified and respond when they get information by email about what's available. The next two questions have to do with Handshake. The first one is asking whether or not you reach out to first year students and guide them through setting up their accounts for Handshake, or do they need to seek out UCC for help with this if they need help?
We are happy to help them. And I will say that Handshake is they do a good job of making it pretty student centered. So we do reach out to them about activating their account, but I think a lot of them are able to navigate it pretty cleanly on their own. It's really a nice tool. But we do work with students all the time about how to do it. And we were at orientation from day one thinking about Handshake. So we are happy to support them if they have questions. And we do certainly, when they're thinking about their job and internship search, help them figure out how to use the right keywords, set the right filters, that kind of stuff along the way.
Thank you. I've used it myself as a grad student when I was in school, and I agree that it is pretty intuitive, which is nice. The next question about Handshake is can or should parents also have access to their students' Handshake account?
Yeah. So the handshake profiles are for the students specifically. So we do encourage our students to be the driver of their platforms there. Um, and I think that a lot of students do talk with their parents and their family members about what they're seeing and ask questions that way. But students are all different, in terms of the amount of support and hands-on support they want there from their parents and families. So we definitely encourage you to ask your student how it's going if they have any questions. But we do encourage them to be the primary driver of that tool.
I will add to Handshake recently, they're constantly updating and trying to understand how to make the tool better for the population that they want to, engage with, which is students. And one thing they released recently is students can have a public handshake like URL in a similar way that they would a LinkedIn. And so you could encourage your students to showcase their handshake URL, or if you have other connections that you think, hey, like, here is my son or daughter or whoever's, handshake URL and it's public and their profile is up to date. That is a way that you could kind of share their profile and kind of expand their reach as well. So that's a relatively new feature. We would love to coach students on how to make their profile like really up to date and impressive before they do that. But that's one cool feature that they recently added.
That is very cool. So we are just about at time for Q&A. I want to just mention again to our participants that we're happy to respond to all of the questions. We will group together those questions that are similar in nature, like we just went through a couple questions about Handshake, and I think there are a couple more about Handshake. Some other questions that I see in here are asking about how students need to dress for their different experiences with career services programs and events. So we'll be able to get answers to those questions and share them. And then the final category that stands out in a couple different questions has to do with the September 8th event. We have some people asking for the QR code again. Some others are asking, is it only for first year students or can second year students or higher attend? And so as I kind of close out the Q&A, I would just ask you both if there's any other guidance you can give people about who may want to look tonight about where they can find additional information about the September 8th event to share with their students.
Definitely.
The
I should have
website and
mentioned,
chat.
yeah, I put in the chat the link to the one pager, so the Google Doc should be able, everyone should be able to view it. It has a link to all of that information, including it's called Ready Set Intern. That's the first year focused event. I will add that transfer students are welcome to attend that event as well. It's really meant to be like a basic primer for what to expect at Michigan. So we do cater that towards transfer students as well. Second year students are welcome to join, but I think that they might already know some of the information. So I might encourage them to make an appointment to kind of do that next level work.
I'm so glad you mentioned transfer students also. And thank you again for reiterating the handout that's in chat. I'm hoping that it reaches everyone, all of the participants. For the University Career Services, we want to thank you not only for your time tonight, but also want to make sure that parents and families and supporters of Michigan students understand there are a number of different services available to assist students with career exploration and career support, especially through their schools and colleges, but the University Career Services serves every major. So make sure that students see this as their central resource that can really support them in every phase and in any discipline that they are pursuing. So I saw a couple other questions were asking about transfer students using the services and being introduced, and then some people mentioned their students' school and college. So just wanted to make sure I talked about that. So with that, I want to make sure our participants know again, we will answer all of the questions and we'll send those out by email. Our YouTube channel gets updated pretty frequently with Parent and Family Weekend coming next week. I think our team will be trying to make sure that this recording is edited and available on YouTube before we get to next weekend, though we usually ask for a 1 to 2 week turnaround time. And we'll get the information out as soon as possible. So as I transition and then close, I just want to remind you all that the Dean of Students Office, oh, my Shih Tzu wants to talk about this last little bit of information. So please forgive Miss Bailey. She always thinks she's a part of what we're doing here in the house, especially when technology is involved. I wanted to just show this quick slide and remind those of you who are familiar, but certainly introduce to everyone who is just getting started with MFamily. We are in the Dean of Students office. Our general purpose in the Dean of Students office is to assist students with really managing any disruptions, any challenges they may have in their Michigan experience. So we are absolutely a campus partner to turn to. We bring in other units when there is a need. It can be an academic concern, a financial concern, personal well-being or safety concern, and we will assist the student and make sure that they have the support to connect with any campus resource and assistance in planning for off-campus resources if they should need that. And our website is here. Please know that you can reach out to the MFamily team with a question about the Dean of Students office or vice versa at any given time. So we want to thank you all for spending the hour with us tonight. We are so grateful to our partners for making time to be here tonight and share information with you about University Career Services. We hope that you will all stay tuned to the MFamily portal to continue to learn about the upcoming MFamily virtual conversations. And of course, we are concerned with how you all are doing. Those of you who are supporting your students being at Michigan, and this is the first time that they are away at school. Love to know if there are questions you have. We'll make time in the next session to check in with you and find out how the transition has been for you. So with that, we want to wish you all a wonderful evening and of course, close with Go Blue. Take care.